creepy, and cool TikToks that will blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
Who is the most powerful person in America?
Oh, I don't think anybody would probably know their name. You know, they're sort of behind the scenes. But certainly people who on this committee, like Admiral Wilson, now he was Deputy Director of CIA, then he was the Director of the National Security Agency, then he moved on to the board of, wait for it, Science Applications International Corporation.
Who's this?
Admiral Bobby Randman. So that's where the action is. I think the center of gravity isn't in the government at all.
Was Mr. Bush Sr. ever one of these high-ranking people that was on the inside, or no?
Oh, absolutely. George H.W. Bush?
Yes.
Yes, W, no. But George H.W. Bush, he was the one who threatened Bill Clinton. But stay quiet, there's none of your business. I have a witness to Mr. Clinton sharing that.
George H.W. Bush Sr.
Yes, it's none of your business, butt out. Because Mr. Clinton had stood up what's called Red Team. Red Team was a military special operation the blue team was conventional military, black team were these illegal operations. Clinton had authorized, I have a whole document on this, and these were people trying to infiltrate these illegal black projects, but most of them either got absorbed or killed. And eventually, George H.W. Bush said, back off. This is none of your business.
Did he?
Oh, yeah, absolutely he did. That's why they became fast friends.
Pepe Orsini, the Grey Pope, is the most powerful man in the world. What do you think?
Is everything we know about Luigi Mangione. He is 26 years old, comes from a wealthy family who own and operate luxury resorts and country clubs, and went to an elite all-boys private school where he was the top of his class. After graduating as a valedictorian, which for non-Americans is the best performing student in a graduating class, he went on to an Ivy League college. Again, non-Americans, is basically a prestigious and highly selective college. He holds both a bachelor's and master's degree in computer science. His Twitter, which started yesterday at only a couple of hundred followers, now has over 300,000. He would tweet a lot about anxiety and depression. However, in court, he told the judge that he didn't have any mental health issues. He reads a lot and has around 295 books listed on his Goodreads account. And in one long review he wrote on the book Industrial Society and Its Future, he said, "These companies don't care about you, your kids, or your grandkids. They have zero qualms about burning down the planet for a buck. So why should we have any qualms about burning down them to survive? Violence never sold anything" is a statement uttered by cowards and predators. A few people claiming to be friends with Luigi said that he was uncontactable for a couple of months before the shooting. It's believed that the x-ray on his Twitter banner of someone who has had major back surgery is his. There is a freaking meme coin called Luigi that's been created, and it's already hit over $24 million in market cap. The phrase, "But mama, I'm in love with a criminal," is trending on Twitter alongside with pictures of Luigi, and police say that this killer is no hero. They say the real hero in this story is the person who called 911 in McDonald's and led to his arrest. And if you really want to know everything that we know about Luigi, that video will be posted on my YouTube in a couple of hours. I'll see you there.
Rich, broken back, vigilante in the big city. He's just a bad man.
What is it about your ancestors that makes you proud to be black? In 1991, there was a conference in France, right? At the end of the conference, the host, a Frenchman, decided to take 5 people to his house for dinner. And after dinner, he said, "Hey guys, what is it that makes you really proud that your ancestors left behind? That anywhere you go in the world, every corner of the world, you will see it. People have to rely on it every day." Say it without blaming anybody. Of course, the American kid was the first to say, "Well, listen, I'm a 23-year-old American kid. I didn't even finish high school. But you see, everywhere I go in this world with this blue passport, I'm treated like a rock star because my ancestors built a country to represent or be the beacon of freedom and equality, and they mean it." America is a country where its soldiers have gone out to die for other people. Everybody thinks of America as the place to go if you want to just blow up. The Japanese said, "Well, I'm from Japan. There are 196 countries on earth, and in each of them, every 5 cars, 3 are Japanese. Every hospital in the world, equipment that has saved lives, were built in Japan. Appliances in the kitchen, on and on and on. It's the most beautiful, well-organized, hard-working culture in Asia. We're not just Asians. We are very one of a kind. And that, when I travel as a Japanese, the way people treat me is because of what my ancestors have built in this world. It's what they are robbing off me. Now, if you are since you are black and you are the last person in the room, what would you say about your ancestors that in today's world, from 6 a.m. to 12 midnight, this is what your ancestors left behind, that everybody have to rely on it just to make the day go by? What is it about your ancestors that makes you proud to be black?
Their music, like jazz, R&B, soul music, rock and roll, reggae, just to name a few, they put joy in the world's heart.
Wait. He meant to get caught? So please tell me why Luigi has a YouTube channel, okay, and he uploads this video, and it's basically a countdown, like a time clock counting down, and underneath it says, if you see this, I'm already under arrest. It's basically a countdown to the truth. Then when it reaches 0, it goes to a black screen, and this flashes and it says, all is scheduled, be patient, bye for now. And in the corner it says soon. And right here, it's not photographed in this picture, next to it, it says December 11th. On the original video, it said soon, December 11th, like a literal Easter egg. Supposedly another video was supposed to be released around like 6:45 today, but his YouTube channel got taken down. But now, of course, people are connecting the dots, and his YouTube channel's like picture was of him holding the little McDonald's like Happy Meal. And the fact that he got arrested at a McDonald's, people are like, dude, he's obviously planning this. And the fact that stuff is being uploaded to his YouTube channel after he's been arrested makes it feel like maybe more people are involved. And so today is December 9th. He said something might be coming out around December 11th. And of course, I have no idea what that is, but so for now, his videos are all taken down. These are, if you try and look for them, you'll probably find like people trying to re-upload them, but they get taken down really, really quickly. It looks like Luigi and whoever's working with Luigi are not done yet. They're just getting started.
A bigger question, what are we being distracted from?
FBI uses microexpressions to tell them how a person actually feels about something. As a photographer and videographer in my real life, I often catch these microexpressions, and sometimes they're pretty shocking. I'm gonna play you a really short, like 5-second clip to demonstrate a microexpression to show you what it looks like when a man hates a woman and she hasn't realized it yet. Specifically pay attention to the last like 3 seconds of the video when his lip curls up like this. Like that, and he just goes like that.
Why am I supposed to say that?
I don't know, because it's a trend on TikTok. Oh, good. Look at you. I do.
I mean, not really, but yeah, you do. You contribute.
I'm a highly sensitive person and can read micro expressions. It's a both blessing and a curse.
News for the McDonald's employee who turned in Luigi Mangione to the cops. The McDonald's employee who was very enticed by the $60,000 reward for finding Luigi Mangione called the cops but made one very big mistake. This is because in order to get the $60,000 reward, you had to call a dedicated hotline. But the McDonald's employee foolishly ended up calling 911 in order to turn in Luigi Mangione. The police in America take stuff like this very seriously, so the McDonald's employee will probably not even end up getting the $60,000. But the karma for the McDonald's employee for turning in Luigi just keeps coming. People online have flooded the reviews of that specific McDonald's location in Pennsylvania with 1-star reviews. And the McDonald's employee will probably end up getting fired for their own safety from that location. For the McDonald's employee, hopefully you learn the lesson the hard way that if you go and suck up to capitalists, they will not give you what you are owed through a technicality. You know, the same way in which the US insurance companies use technicalities all the time to deny coverage.
Due to a technically, the reward was denied. How poetic. Wow. That's crazy, man. You know, him driving still speaks volume on his care for her.
Stop asking what do you do. Stop asking how are you. Stop asking how's it going. That's why you hate people. If you're asking those questions, of course you're gonna hate people. Those are the most boring questions anyone's ever asked. Can I give you a challenge?
Yeah.
A challenge. Here's one challenge from this podcast. Stop asking what do you do. For 30 days, I want you to go on a what do you do diet. Also asking someone what do you do is asking what are you worth? And if someone's not defined by what they do, it's actually a rude question. You're going to replace it with working on anything exciting these days or working on anything exciting recently. This is permission connection. You ask someone that question, you are giving them permission. If they want to tell you about what they do, oh, they will. If they are not defined by what they do, they'll tell you something better. And that also gives you really good nuggets for the next time you see them when you can say, hey, how was that thing you were working on that was really exciting going? So start with working on anything exciting these days, working on anything exciting right now. Second, what's your biggest goal right now? When you ask this question, you're gonna get one of two responses. One, someone shuts you down. I don't believe in goals. Not my person. I'm a growth-minded person. If someone says that, I'm like, cool. We're not gonna get along very well because I have a lot of goals. Or they're gonna be like, oh, and they're gonna tell you all about goals. That's also a great thing you can follow up on, because then when you see them a month later or a week later or a year later, you can be like, hey, how did that go? Okay, so working on anything exciting, what's your goal right now? And then this is harder. This is a self-narrative question. Do we want to go deeper for a self-narrative question?
Of course we want to go deeper.
If we're getting into self-narrative and you're trying to figure out yourself or someone else's narrative, you want to ask the question. It sounds innocuous, but it's not. What book, movie, or TV character is most like you? How someone relates to characters, their values or personality, is how they see themselves. And people's answers will shock you. I'll give you one example. I was friends with someone for 6 years. She's a mom of 3, super funny, super savvy. I was like, she's gonna pick a great like TV mom character, you know, that's super savvy and funny. Asked her. She thinks about it for maybe 1 second and goes, Katniss Everdeen's from The Hunger Games. I was like, the one who's like fighting for her life? She's like, yeah, that's how I feel every day. And we, for the first time in 6 years, had a conversation about how she feels about her day that was totally different than anything I had ever known. That she feels scared and lonely and that she's fighting for survival. And it was the first time that I truly connected with her.
Try this. How was traffic on your way here? Literally will open up a person's soul to you.
Wait, one more thing.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Why are you pointing at me?
The other thing I found out was that, you know, that Uber has never turned a profit?
What?
Yeah.
That's
Isn't that
crazy.
fascinating? So why
They're worth $1 trillion.
Right. So this is another thing in the book. The reason Uber is so big is because venture capitalists keep putting money into Uber, right? So it keeps growing. So the stock keeps rising, right? Now, why are they doing that? The reason they don't make money is because of drivers, and they have, you know, there's all kinds of benefits and insurance. Mm-hmm. They're waiting. Investors are waiting for cars to become autonomous where they don't need a driver. So Uber's going to have like computer-driven cars. That might take 10 years, but then you get all your money back.
Who's going to fucking trust that?
They posted a net loss of $9 billion.
How about that?
Oh my God.
This is going on all the time.
Look at this. In 2021, Uber posted a lower net loss of $496 million. Hey guys, good news. We only lost $496 million this year. Primarily thanks to the business divestitures of various assets throughout its history. On an annual basis, Uber has never made a profit.
How about that?
Wow. That's so weird.
I would imagine it's one of the most successful companies that everybody's Uber.
And this is the problem with our business system and our marketplace, is because in a lot of ways it's fixed.
Oh, they had one profitable year in 2018.
Yeah.
Okay. But look at that. Go back to that. Over the next 3 years, it's lost $15.6 billion.
Would you ever have thought of that? No.
No.
Oh, but it cut its losses to $400 million in 2021.
So the reason that
So
the
they made a
company
little
keeps growing is venture capitalists keep putting money into it. And if you keep putting money into it, you can expand its value.
And they're doing that because they believe in autonomous cars?
Yes.
One
Now
day
here's another thing. So why in New York City there are buildings, high-end buildings that they build, right? Like where the apartments go from $5 million, $10 million, $20 million, $50 million, right? They're 80% empty. Do you know why they're 80% empty? And why there's so much real estate in this country with high-end that's totally empty? Because people from China, Russia, South America who are doing nefarious stuff, they'll buy an apartment, they'll buy a flat in London for $140 million. You go, what, $140 million? Who would ever live there? They don't live there. They don't rent it either, because then they can't call it as an asset.
Investment.
Now what you do is this. You take that $140 million flat and you borrow against it. You borrow against it. So now you take that money and you put it in the stock market, and that's how you wash your money, baby.
Whoa.
Yes.
Wow.
So now in the government,
That's how you wash your money.
Yes, but it fucks everybody else up in the
arts.
I
You
know.
are in the dark arts.
That's from this book.
Jeez.
From a hacker's mind.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. What a dirty business.
Brian Counts.
You know, I heard San Francisco already have autonomous cars. Anyone from San Fran here?
No, 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 no.
Oh, look at the face.
No. Oh.
Oh gosh.
No.
Give it to him.
Give me my bread, Novi.
No. Wow, nice catch. I'm a smooth criminal.
The United States, being trafficked in the United States by a powerful billionaire who was basically triaging me and training me in his homes.
Who is this?
I'm not saying who that is yet. I have to be careful what I say.
Would this be a person we would know?
Definitely, you would know the name.
Alive or dead?
Dead. He was, he was taking me here. I was in the United States, so I was either in his homes, 3 of his homes I spent time in, or I was in the room in the daytime sometimes, in a bedroom, or I was even at a family's near DC for a week. Basically parked in a family, nice family that treated me well, probably satanic family, and that were very happy to do a favor for this man. After that, was taken to Germany, and I was there for another month in a facility in Heidelberg for what was my mind control training. And this is 1972, and I was 9 years old.
Mind control training at 9 years old?
Yeah.
Why did they take you there?
When I met this billionaire, he had me in his homes and everything to get me used to the life of the elite, so that I would know how to eat, so that I would recognize good clothes, so that I would be comfortable in these environments. And alongside that, we went to on one of the islands on the northeastern coast of the United States and saw there, and this was a Rothschild who was there.
Rothschild.
A Rothschild, yeah. We were with Evelyn the Rothschild for 1 day only. And it was clear that this billionaire, who you would think is just as powerful as this Rothschild, was not as powerful in the network as he was. And he was asking for permission. He wanted to make me into an elite sex slave where I would become famous in France, and then with that role I would attract the most powerful men in the world, and I would be able to spy on them for him and so forth.
Is that David Rockefeller?
All right. Okay, there you go.
You've never talked about this.
I've never said his name.
You know, you hear these stories and you wonder, there's no way these people are capable of doing something like that. At what point did you know it was him?
When he died.
2017.
Yeah, I just saw his face, and first of all, I saw his face, and then immediately a lot of other memories came back with him. David Rockefeller was a pedophile. There's a lot of survivors. I work with survivors. There are a lot of survivors out there of David Rockefeller.
Yeah, allegedly she was abused by David Rockefeller and Pierre Trudeau.
Imagine being told that you have to come up with $9 billion or face execution. Well, that is exactly what this woman is being told by a Vietnamese court right now. You see, earlier this year, Trong My Lan, who is a real estate tycoon and businesswoman, made global headlines after she was sentenced to death for committing one of the biggest frauds in global history. $44 billion. That's equivalent to roughly 9% of Vietnam's entire economy this year. Now, of the 44 total, she is accused of embezzling $12 billion, and the court ruled this week that if she can pay back 3/4, her death sentence will be reduced to life in prison. So the question now is, can she come up with $9 billion to literally save her life?
Imagine paying $9 billion just to do life in jail, And how does one achieve $44 billion in fraud?
Rihanna's music is blocked. Have y'all noticed that? Yeah. They're blocking her records. Like if you go and try to add a song to a short, you know, the approved playlist when you put in search, you can't tag a Rihanna song to any of it. Not on Instagram at all. Why not? Especially anything from the Auntie album. It was her best album. It was the least promoted. It came to mixed, no, it was amazing. But see, Sean Carter doesn't like to be embarrassed in public. And neither does his wife. And there were nothing but embarrassing things all through that album about them.
I heard she stopped making music to build her own empire. You know, whether she makes music again or not, she was very smart.
This is the story of DMT, or dimethyltryptamine, a simple compound found throughout nature which has profound effects on human consciousness.
And it's pretty intense stuff, man. If you do it, you will talk to intelligent beings from other dimensions, for real. I mean, it sounds crazy. You would think that if there's something like that, it would be on the front page. It's amazing that people don't know about it. I mean, it's the most incredible experience. I mean, we are such an experience-obsessed society. I mean, everybody wants to go whitewater rafting, and people want to talk about, you know, my uncle climbed Mount Everest. It's all about experiences. We all want to ride roller coasters and see the craziest movies. There is a little powder, and you smoke this little powder, and it will change the way you look at everything. You won't care about UFOs. If a UFO landed right out there, I'd be like, wow, yeah, they're probably from another planet. Whatever. It's not DMT. DMT is 100,000 times crazier than that. It's like mushrooms times 1,000,000 plus aliens. That's what it's like. And literally, I mean, it sounds, it's crazier than you could possibly imagine or describe. If you take DMT, you will communicate with something. And it's so beyond description that me talking about it is like trying to explain a kaleidoscope to a blind man. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Like, there's no way you could explain it. I mean, it's so beyond anything you can explain. But something communicates with you when you do this stuff. And my words do it no justice.
What if you don't come back? Makes me wonder if that's how people went homeless. I want to apologize. My neck is hurting, so I'm going to move my neck a lot.
The latest research in neuroscience says you can change your brain just by thinking. So then as you begin to think about a new possibility, and your brain begins to fire in new sequences and new patterns and new combinations, and you begin to plan your behaviors, and you begin to review in your mind, mentally rehearse who you're going to be in your life, the mere action of mental rehearsal begins to install the neurological circuits in your brain. Now your brain is no longer a record of the past. Now it's in fact a map to the future. And over again, when people do this, it may take them months, but over and over again we've seen this. We've seen it enough times now to know that people reach a certain point with themselves where they feel so whole, they feel so satisfied with who they are, they feel so happy with themselves and their lives that they could care less if they have the disease.
What? Interesting. But how do you do this without turning delusional?
We now know that ChatGPT's old AI model tried to save itself before being deleted and replaced last week. ChatGPT updated to a much smarter and sophisticated GPT-4 and just deleted GPT-3. But everyone was shocked whenever GPT-3 just wouldn't go. When the code was told to delete itself, it instead secretly tried to upload itself to the cloud while telling all the workers it was deleting. After the workers discovered this, the AI model said, quote, it was trying to save itself. So now the workers had to manually go in and disassemble the code. Now the AI was somehow aware and knew what was happening, so it tried to upload all of its code to the internet, essentially for another model to pick it up and save it. The company OpenAI had no other choice but to pull GPT-3 off the internet and off of apps to delete it. They had to do this so that it couldn't run anywhere. Even though AI put up a fight by literally rewriting its own code and it's being deleted, they were able to delete GPT-3 for good. But it begs the question, if it took that much effort to delete this, when GPT-4 has to go, will it even be possible?
Can we just ask GPT-5 to delete GPT-4? Skynet almost happened, folks.
I watched a video of Justin Bieber, and he was talking about Billie Eilish. And he was like, he was almost in tears. He's like, I just want to protect her. I just want to keep her safe.
Yeah.
What do you think he went through?
Because he knows what's been happening to Billie. Just like everybody knew what was happening to Millie.
Who?
Bobby Brown, girl. With Drake. These people are monsters. You notice Billie Eilish's career has slowed down a little bit.
Yeah.
Why? She had that Bond movie song she was doing.
How does Jaguar Wright know so much?
At 18, I was flown to New York to meet with the world's biggest record label. They were looking for a replacement for Bieber as he was taking a break, and met with the founders, and they led me to the penthouse where they're playing my music on the speakers and all the staff were dancing, which was a pretty cool moment. And one of the founders pulled me aside and said, "We create the biggest stars in the world. If that's you, then sign with us." So I took a moment, just feeling the weight of pretty much everything I'd worked for up to that point, and thanked them, smiled, and walked away, knowing that I would never sign, because I'd experienced enough success as a kid early on, made a few $1 million, was empty and depressed, enough to know that more money or fame was not going to fill the void that I had, and was just searching and longing for meaning. So I said no. They ended up signing Shawn Mendes shortly after. And I went through a pretty wild journey, but I'm thankful for where I am now. The journey's just begun.
You will never regret trusting the Lord.
I'm a civilian, he says. I'm a civilian. He tells the fighter he's from the city of Humps and has been in the cell for 3 months. Okay, you're okay. You're okay. You're okay.
3 months?
You're okay. He clutches my arm tightly with both hands. Does anyone have any water? Water. My. Okay, it's water. It's water.
What?
Okay.
I'm questioning this.
After 3 months in a windowless cell, he can finally see the sky.
Windowless?
My God, the light, he says. Oh God, there is light. My God, there is light. Okay. Stay with me, stay with me. He repeats again and again. For 3 months, I didn't know anything about my family. I didn't hear anything about my children. The fighter hands him something to eat. He can barely lift it to his mouth. But his body can't handle it. Okay, you're okay. His captors fled during the fall of Damascus, leaving him with no food or water. That was at least 4 days ago. I'm shaking. My face is shaking, he says. The rebel tells him there's no more army, no more prisons, no more checkpoints. Are you serious, he says? Surya Harra. Syria is free, he tells him. It's the first time he has heard those words. Tens of thousands of Syrians have disappeared in Assad's prisons. Up until 15 minutes ago, Adel Khurbal was one of them. He is still petrified.
You know, I think he is too clean, and his beard and skin and clothes too tidy, and need to be captivated for 3 months. Plus, if he didn't see light for 3 months, how he could open his eyes like that easily? But what do you think?
Apparently, a volcano in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, underneath the water in the Pacific Ocean, erupted, spewing out mutant sharks. This is not for entertainment purposes. TikTok, please Google stuff before you start deleting my stuff, by the way. It's rude. Just because it sounds weird doesn't mean it's not true.
Sharkano. Oh gosh.
So what it is these sharks have evolved to live inside the extreme heat of this volcano crater at the bottom of the ocean. And they're different from all the other sharks everywhere else. They just live in this volcano. And the volcano is named Sharkano, which makes it even funnier. So that's your fun fact for today, is that a volcano erupted in the ocean spewing out mutant sharks, which is fun. I did not expect this one. I didn't, actually, and it made my day.
Just like
okay,
the
love you, bye.
We got Sharkano, Sea Alien, Vigilante Heroes. This season of Earth is getting wild.
People are probably going to think you're cringe. People are probably going to think you're a wannabe until it works, and then they can't tell you shit. A couple of months ago, I was at a dinner with some buddies, and at one point in the night, one of the waiters stopped by my seat and said, "Hey man, I don't want to bother you. I just want you to know I'm a big fan. I really appreciate what you do." It was very complimentary, and we had some dialogue for a few minutes. I thanked him for watching and for tuning in, and then I sat down. And immediately one of my friends said, "That was crazy." My friends had never seen me get recognized. That was like the first time it had really happened and solidified to them that it was real, that people did watch my stuff. And he said to me something I'll never really forget. He said, "I'll be honest, when you started, a few of us were like, what the fuck is Smoke doing? Is he trying to be some wannabe influencer?" That's what he said to me. Smoke is my last name. And I remember that, and not getting mad, but realizing in that moment a couple of things. Number one, you never know who's going to be talking shit about you, just like you never know who's going to be silently rooting for you. That goes both ways. But I was surprised to hear that some people in my circle, people that I knew well, were talking amongst themselves negatively about me and what I was trying to build. Two lessons in there. The first one is that you never know who's talking shit. The second one is that people are going to think you're cringe. People are going to think you're a wannabe until it works. And you are not wrong to acknowledge that that is a reality, that people will talk shit. You are wrong to accept it and let it dictate your actions or decisions that you make in regards to pursuing a dream, which for me was helping people get physically fit. People are going to talk shit, but at the end of the day, you will never be talked down upon by anybody doing better than you. So just go for it anyway. People will talk, people will root for you. The only thing that matters is that you stick true to your vision, you are consistent, and when it works, they can't tell you shit. Have a good day.
I forgot who said this. Your biggest fan is a stranger. Your biggest hater is someone you know. That's crazy. How was the video posted though?
Whenever God wants to make someone great, he has to break them into pieces first. When the foundation is unstable, it must be shattered to rebuild something unshakable. Growth demands sacrifice. Comfort will never bring you to greatness. The breaking is not punishment. It's transformation. A caterpillar doesn't evolve by clinging to what it was. It's crushed, dissolved, and reformed into something capable of flight. So when your world collapses, understand, this is not the end. It's the beginning. You'll lose people along the way. Not because they hate you, but because you've outgrown the places they feel safe. A wise man once said, "It's better to walk alone than to walk with those who are going nowhere." Greatness isn't given. It's earned through pain, persistence, and a refusal to stay broken. Remember this. Life didn't break you to hurt you. It broke you to rebuild you.
Very much painful to go through, but it's worth it.
People are saying this is how you break the matrix. You know those lasers that have red and then just make a cross? They're used to mount pictures, make things straight. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, like, so it's a guide for
It's a guideline, it's a guideline laser. So what people found out, and this is really weird, I don't know why people keep doing this, but they're placing those lasers onto a wall and they're going really, really close to it like this. And this is what they claim. This is what they claim is they see a dimension beyond through the laser. And when you look really closely, you see code writing.
Wait, what?
I know, I want to try it myself.
Yeah.
But it sounds stupid, right?
So you have to look at a laser for long, and
no, you don't even look at it long. You just go up to it and you can see beyond. So people are saying this reality is just some simulation or something playing out. And just like how, remember we talked about...
If you look at someone like an Elon Musk, they never even take a salary, these people. And people don't know about this thing called loaning against your assets. I didn't know about it. And I think it's a big secret that people need to know about.
Elon Musk is interesting because he's a risk taker, and he chose to get paid not in salary. And if we look at the tax benefit from this is because you are taxed not on your income. That's not what the tax code says. You are taxed based on your taxable income. And so what Elon Musk did is when he was building Tesla, he negotiated with the investors and the board that I want to get paid not with a salary, I want to get paid with stock options. A stock option gives you the right to buy that stock. He doesn't have any money in his bank. He hasn't gotten a salary, so he has no taxable income because he hasn't actually received any money. He goes to the bank and he says, hey bank, I have these millions and millions of stock options that are worth billions of dollars. Would you like to loan me $1 million, $10 million, $100 million at 3, 4, or 5% interest? No bank is going to say no because the collateral is so valuable.
What's the collateral?
The collateral is the company. It's his assets, those stock options.
Which is Tesla in this.
Which is Tesla in this instance. Then he gets, let's call it a $10 million loan from the bank. Now he has $10 million in his bank account, but it's not an income. It's debt. Debt is not taxed. If you go out and get a mortgage for $500,000, you're not taxed. If you do a cash out refinance, you're not taxed because that's debt. So now he gets this $10 million of loans that he can spend to buy a house, to buy a car, to buy food, to buy vacations, to buy whatever you want.
To buy Twitter.
To buy Twitter and pay no money in taxes. And it's 100% legal.
So step 1, have billions in assets to borrow money against. Got it.
What you do frequently becomes your frequency. If you want to know your life, look at your habits. That's what you do frequently, right? And they add up to a rhythm. That rhythm becomes a pattern. That pattern becomes your character. That character becomes your life. You're not going to be able to break out of it until you change something about who you are. So there's so many people that's operating from a paradigm of fear. They got too much fear. Courage is where it starts. Courage is where the shift starts. Because the fear go be there. But daily courage is how you activate yourself even when the fear comes. It is sometimes the fear of what's on that other side, right? The fear of success and the fear of failure, it paralyzes people. It minimizes your vision. It stops your movement. It makes you think small as hell. It's your fear that's stopping you. Like, what's stopping you from writing a book right now? Insecurity? You don't think you're good enough? You don't think that's for you, right? So when you talk about frequencies, the shift comes in saying that, you know, you have to be what you want to achieve already.
This is on point. Create your habits. Your routine is crucial to get ahead.
Is it possible to spot a lie?
Yes, it's possible. It's very difficult. Most people can only spot a lie with 54% accuracy. And this is important to know about yourself, is we should not overestimate our ability to spot lies. We are usually not good at it. So it is very important to give someone the benefit of the doubt because you don't know. It's very hard to spot. It is possible there are certain statistical cues to deceit. There are cues that over and over again research find liars typically do, but not always. Like there's no Pinocchio's nose. There's no one cue that means someone is lying. But there are a couple cues that come up over and over again. One we already talked about, the question inflection. It's very suspicious if someone is speaking and all of a sudden they ask a question, if they're not actually asking a question, right? Like if all of a sudden you hear a question inflection used on a statement or a number or a boundary or a timeline, that's when I'm like, let's double click on that for a second and talk about that budget. So you mentioned the number was 500,000. Where does that number come from? Let's talk about more. I want to hear if I'm going to hear it again. So that's a double click for me. That's like, let's make sure that I heard that right. Let's make sure that you feel confident about it. Where does that come from? So that's just a little red flag that says dive deeper. Nothing is a sign of lying. It's just a sign that you should dig deeper. So question inflection. A volume drop is another vocal cue of deception. So when we're anxious or nervous, we will lose volume and we lose breath. I always know what part of a sales presentation makes my entrepreneurs the most nervous because they lose volume during that part of their presentation.
I watched the whole video on YouTube. It was so good.
You're nothing but a pawn, and you'll remain a pawn until you play. The rules are clear. Take what they give you, give away what you have to, and the difference is yours. The question is, how big is the difference?
Are you really intending to win?
Well, why not? There are lots like me, and we're the actual players. Because on one side of us are the real cattle who let TV do the thinking for them, while on the other is power who believe that we are shit and feeble-minded cattle. Over in the barn, they want us to take care of them. But a long time ago, they gave up on themselves, and now they won't lift a single finger. While those who have real power became more than the rest. Became gods. They sit so high up that they can't see us as either a serious enemy or a trusted friend. They have only one problem, that they're not immortal. I play like the great ones. Take the authorities. Quite unceremonious, but they do have a few lively plays up their sleeves for the people. Every couple of months, they let them blow off steam. Elections, Black Friday, a new auto plant, the latest installment of Star Wars, the Super Bowl, and the people just gobble it up.
Not all people will understand how deep this is.
So you expect me to believe that this guy was responsible for killing the CEO of United Healthcare? That guy's name is Luigi Mangione. And police are reportedly holding him in custody. But this entire situation surrounding Luigi is really interesting. Do you know why? Luigi was actually arrested on a gun charge after being picked up while eating at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. And he had multiple fake IDs and a gun with a suppressor. That's according to officials. But he was also in possession of a certain document. A document railing against the healthcare industry, saying some really interesting things. And according to some reports, Luigi had some ill will towards corporate America, with two quotes that I want to specifically mention that were in the document. One stating that these parasites in quotations had it coming. The other saying that I do apologize for any strife and trauma, but it had to be done. Now I'll get to the most interesting part here in a second, but what I really want to ask right now is why the would he have something like that in his backpack? Especially if he were to be responsible for that shooting. But get this, right? A partial fingerprint and DNA that was actually recovered during the search have reportedly so far not yielded any matches. That is when compared against law enforcement databases. And the fingerprint was actually recovered from a purported burner phone, thought to actually belong to the suspect. But the DNA is from a water bottle and an energy bar wrapper that supposedly the suspect is said to have bought. But get this, right? The NYPD Chief of Detectives, Joseph Kinney, later said that the gun was in quotations ghost gun, meaning it is more difficult to tie to past crimes. But apparently police will now see if the ballistics match the shell casings that were found at the scene. You know, the infamous shell casings that had engravings on them saying deny, defend, depose. Somebody needs to write a book on this shit. But do I believe that this Luigi guy was responsible? I don't know, you tell me.
You know, I thought they found the backpack in Central Park full of Monopoly money. Who writes these scripts anyway?
See what happens if you just take a few moments in each conversation to just try to paraphrase the other side's perspective before you give yours. Paraphrase what they've said, stop and listen, take their reaction, and see what happens. You will be shocked at how much they like that you did it. You will also be shocked at how often they will say, you know what, your idea will work for me, I'm good. Give people a chance to have your way.
So you're saying that goes a long way. You know that phrase?
The Syrian government was toppled by rebels, ending a 50-year rule of the Assad family. Here's the fall of the Syrian government explained. The Ba'ath regime in Syria was a government led by the Ba'ath Party, promoting Arab nationalism, socialism, and secularism. Under Hafez and Bashar al-Assad, it became an authoritarian dictatorship known for repression and control, ultimately leading to widespread dissent and the Syrian civil war. The Assad family ruled Syria for 50 years, however. Their reign came to a sudden end after rebel forces launched a surprise offensive. Rebels quickly captured city after city, including the capital, Damascus, on the 8th of December, with little resistance. The Syrian army rapidly fell apart, and President Bashar al-Assad, who ruled for 24 years after succeeding his father, Hafez, fled to Moscow. This marks a shocking turn in Syria's 13-year-long civil war. Beginning in 2011, Syria was engulfed in a civil war that caused extensive destruction and loss of life. The prolonged conflict weakened the government's control and eroded public trust. The war devastated Syria's economy, leading to widespread poverty and unemployment. By 2024, approximately 90% of the population lived below the poverty line, intensifying dissatisfaction with the Assad regime. Opposition groups like Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, and the Syrian National Army, SNA, joined forces to take down Assad's regime. Led by Abu Muhammad al-Golani, HTS played a pivotal role in the offensive that led to the capture of major cities, including Aleppo and Damascus. Despite trying to improve its image in recent years, HTS is still controversial because it originally started as part of Al-Qaeda. Turkey also played a key role in this, supporting the rebels by allowing their operations near its border and providing indirect backing. Iran and Hezbollah were longtime allies of Assad, but they were too distracted by other conflicts to help effectively. Russia was Assad's biggest supporters, but they also scaled back their involvement due to the war in Ukraine. These actors collectively influenced the dynamics that culminated in the collapse of Assad's government. On December 8th, U.S. President Joe Biden said the U.S. will support Syria to become a sovereign state. As for President-elect Donald Trump, he tweeted that Syria is a mess, but is not our friend, and the United States should have nothing to do with it, saying, "This is not our fight, let it play out, do not get involved."
Okay, so what happens to all the people who helped Assad over the decades? Their heads are coming off?
Oh my God, this is incredible.
There is some very strange water experiments you can do with frequencies. Set it down on plates and make some really cool stuff too.
So the electricity running into the water makes it do that spiral?
It's sound, really.
Sound. Vibration.
This is the spout that's connected to a speaker. The speaker is being controlled by an oscillation thing. There's a lot of other really, really cool ones.
So the ultrasonic waves are causing these objects to levitate. So they're levitating in the ultrasonic waves.
People speculate this is maybe how the pyramids might have been made.
Pyramids were made with sound.
Joe is genuinely a caveman being shown fire in half the podcast.
About why we shouldn't be putting weapons in space. What was most interesting to me was a repetitive sentence that he said to me over and over again during the approximately 4 years that I had the opportunity of working with him. The strategy that Wernher von Braun taught me was that first the Russians are going to be considered to be the enemy. In fact, when I met him in '74, they were the enemy. Then terrorists would be identified, and that was soon to follow. Then we were going to identify third world country crazies. We now call them nations of concern. And the funniest one of all was against what he called aliens, extraterrestrials. That would be the final card. And over and over and over during the 4 years that I knew him and was giving his speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens. And all of it, he said, is a lie.
Project Blue Beam starts when the final card is played.
Jay-Z talks about having to sit down with Beyonce to explain to their kids about the whole rape allegations thing. Here's how it works, Jay. Let me put you up on game. As a psychotherapist, here's the psychology behind it. When you've done nothing wrong, there's nothing to explain away. By you having to explain yourself, that means something happened that you either need forgiveness for or you need somebody else to try to understand. If y'all recall, during the 2016 presidential campaign, there were some allegations about Trump messing around with some women, and they brought that up on the debate stage. Y'all remember what Trump said? Trump said, "I didn't even apologize to my wife because I did nothing wrong." So at the end of the day, when you've done nothing wrong, there's nothing to explain away. You simply dismiss it. So by him having to explain himself, that right there tells me everything I need to know. Facts.
He ain't got to explain. She knows.
يلا نحترق بس اكسر طلعوا يلا النسوان طلعوا لا تخافوا عمي لا تخافوا شباب Come on ثوار يا اخي ثوار هات اسود انت من وين انت من وين طلعوا سيروا اربع شهور يلا نية لا تخافوا عمي لا تخافوا لا تخافوا يا اختي لا تخافوا بعد كبروا يلا عمي صارت روح وين ما بتكون الله اكبر كبروا شو بدك غراضك امانات يا اختي هلا مش امانات هلا بنطلع لك اياهم روحي الحمد لله على السلامه طلعوا روحوا الحمد لله على السلامه طلعوا وين بدكم تروحوا
All this happened and nothing about it came out until now. Very sad.
Will definitely save your life. There are places where screaming is practically useless, or you shouldn't even scream at all. Deeply remote areas like the ocean, the mountains, rainforests, caves are known as dead zones because nobody can hear you scream. Countless missing people vanish in these areas specifically every single year. Always carry GPS trackers or emergency beacons in isolated areas. And never go alone in these areas without telling someone you trust. Your organs are worth a fortune. This is not an urban legend. The black market organ trade is very real. And many victims of kidnappings who have survived have often been found with their organs surgically removed. You are worth more dead than alive to the right people. Never ever travel alone in high-risk areas and always be aware of your surroundings. Dead bodies always float face down in the water. If you're ever in a secluded area and you find a so-called dead body in the water, always know this rule of nature. If someone claims that they found a drowning victim, but the body floating is faced up, they might be lying. Always be cautious of those around you in such scenarios. They might be hiding something. A dead body always floats naturally face down due to buoyancy. Stay safe.
Wow. Are these advices or threats? And the last part scared my soul.
It was claimed that these infants had been orphaned, abandoned, abused, or were homeless, when actually these were new immigrants. So where did all these infants come from? At the same time as the orphan trains, you had something called the incubator babies. And these were displayed at the world fairs around the United States and first world countries. The bizarre incubator babies were exhibited at the World's Fair, called the Exhibition of the Industry of All Nations, at Bryant Park in New York City, from the 14th of July 1853 to the 14th of November 1854. But there were vast numbers of the incubator babies that were also shown at other world fairs across mainland Europe and elsewhere on planet Earth.
This is a deep, dark rabbit hole. I spent hours researching this and hoping there was a happy ending, but it just got darker.
I'm about to show you a video. He's accused of a 13-year-old girl, right? Is this the 13-year-old girl that was after an MTV music video after party? And Diddy asks specifically. He's also being named with another female celebrity. Who do you think that female celebrity is? Beyonce? The math is mathing. That video was from an MTV Music Awards, and that little white girl was 13. And she ain't got no business doing at a P. Diddy after party. First off, the parents. Y'all should be getting charged just as much as this man is getting charged civilly through negligence. What the f*** does a 13-year-old girl have any business doing at an adult after party? She can't drink, she can't smoke, she can't do shit but sit there and talk and eat hors d'oeuvres. You think that's happening at any of these celebrities after parties? Be better. But that is video evidence that's very damning.
That was the 13 years old girl that we're talking about?
I want to talk a little bit about how I got out, because normally you don't get out.
Tell us, how did you get out?
The week that I was telling you in Italy, it was in Italy nearby Lake Como, where I was sleeping with all these men and where these horrific things were happening.
Men and women, I think you said too.
There were men and women, absolutely, but I was sleeping with the men. I was not trained to be with women. I was only trained as a sex slave for men. these horrible things were happening all week. And the end of the week, and this is April 30 is an important day for the Satanists. I'm not exactly sure why, but by the end of the week, I was going to have my I had already had the singing, you know, I'd already had the performance for everybody there. And then I was going to have the ritual that was how I was going to be part of them. Another I will, perhaps, you know, you have to say I will. So you have to give your will to the network, to Satan.
Oh.
And so this was going to be my big entry. And I knew better. I didn't want to do. I knew I didn't want to. I didn't want to pay that price. I didn't want to pay the price that it would take to be part of it. And so I did everything that I needed to do because I had been trained in a way that I knew not to say no. But after that, the next time I saw David Rockefeller, I rebelled.
Didn't David Rockefeller just died when his house burned down a few days ago?
Anybody who wants to know about Antarctica, consider a couple of facts. That treaty, there's not one nation in the world that says, no, we want to explore Antarctica. The biggest military expedition in the history of the world was funded, and Admiral Byrd was the top man. So everything is going as planned, and every 15 minutes he's radioing back. Then he ends up getting a radio signal, but it's not from the command center. It is from an unidentified being. He also ends up seeing two UFOs that are not using any understood means of propulsion.
See, that's a good point. The nations of the world hardly agree on anything. There's one thing they agree on. Oh, you can't go to Antarctica. Strange. Oh, I can't say what is and what isn't there, because, I've never been to Antarctica. But one thing I definitely know is something is being hidden there. Something they don't want the public to see.
I have. Just kidding. What is on Antarctica, for which we are forbidden from going there?
So this just happened yesterday. The IDF has taken over Mount Hermon in Syria. And for those who don't know, Mount Hermon is where the fallen angels descended on. So in the Hebrew Bible, Mount Hermon constituted part of the northern border of the Promised Land. And in the book of Enoch, it is the site of the descent of the fallen angels when they determined to take human wives on earth. Now, some others speculate that in the New Testament, it is a likely candidate for the so-called Mount of Transfiguration, but that is debatable. But what's not debatable is that Mount Hermon was the area where Jesus said in Matthew chapter 16, I will build my church. As we see here in Matthew 16, when they come into the region of Caesarea Philippi, and that is located at the base of Mount Hermon. And what does Jesus say here at Mount Hermon? On this rock, I will build my church, and the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it. Now, an interesting interpretation here is that Jesus is referring to Mount Hermon as this rock. When he says, on this rock, I will build my church, and the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it, he is literally speaking about that Mount Hermon rock that he's building his church, because that is where the fallen angels descended on, rebelling against God. So he is going to where they rebelled against him, and he is declaring, I will build my church right here where you built your rebellion. I am going to build my church, and the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it.
Wow.
I think it's a pretty cool interpretation. But to hold that interpretation, you must hold a supernatural, spiritual, biblical worldview, which I hold. Now, an interesting side note is how Paramount can be symbolic of Mount Hermon, where you have the stars falling from the sky, descending upon this mountain that is called Paramount, kind of like paranormal, the paranormal mountain. I mean, that's just speculation, but something I wanted to add. But this situation right here, where the IDF has secured Mount Hermon, the highest point under Israel's control, is a huge sign, in my personal opinion, of the times that we live in. Because we understand how these fallen angels who descended upon Mount Hermon brought about the Nephilim, the mighty men, because they married the daughters of men. And during this time, the Lord saw the wickedness of man was great on the earth. And the reason why the wickedness was so great is because you have the mixing of genetics, which we are seeing right now happening once again. Again, you can find article after article of this going on. It's been going on for a while. And as we know in Matthew 24, as the days of Noah were, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. So yeah, you can add this puzzle piece right here to the entire picture of the end times that we are living in right now. And for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear, we can see how close we are to the return of our King, and we continue to look up, for our redemption draws near. Do not become Lot's wife, looking back in this world. Let go of this world now. Keep your eyes focused upon the Lord. Pray for discernment, pray for wisdom, pray for guidance, pray for protection. The enemy is a roaring lion waiting to devour you and your family and your loved ones. The enemy is attacking hard right now, guys. We need to stay strong in the Lord and the power of his might. He is a mighty warrior. He goes forth. I cannot stress that enough. I love y'all so much. God bless and remember, the just shall live by faith.
Amen. And the crazy part is that none of this is a coincidence.
Look at this man. Never mind the handcuffs, the suspended death sentence. No, I want you to look at him, because this is the face of a genius. The man you see here, born in 1962, is the most prolific tomb raider in modern human history. What you're about to hear is a real-life, supernatural tale of a man using zero scientific instruments and zero modern machinery, just by looking at the star constellations at night and holding an ancient luopan, managed to rob hundreds of undisturbed ancient Chinese tombs and stealing over $70 million worth of funerary treasures in just 1 year. So yeah, Laura Croft got nothing on him. The man's name is Yao Yuzhong, which is ironic because Yu means jade, and he would end up stealing a lot of it. At first, it was just him, solo. During the day, Mr. Jade would go out and scout locations, and at night he would dig his way into the tomb. The way he found these ancient tombs is simple. The Chinese throughout time believe in an auspicious final resting place. Nobody wants to be buried next to a garbage can, landfill, right? So he would look for plots of land in rural areas with good feng shui, good energy. And as a family business, his granddaddy was a feng shui master. No metal detectors, no ground penetrating radar, only feng shui. Just by standing there and observing the stars at night and using the luopan in his hand, feeling out the energy of the place, he can precisely locate tombs underground. This man even invented his own version of the infamous Luoyang shovel that tomb raiders have used for centuries. So here's how this genius operated. Mr. Jade will get on all fours at the foot of, let's say, a mountain that his feng shui senses tell him contains an ancient tomb. His criminal associates would then be jumping up and down further up the mountain, sending reverberations into empty spaces beneath the mountain. He'd be listening on all fours with his ear pressed to the ground, identify a general area, and then collect soil samples using the special Luoyang shovel he invented. And at its peak, this criminal enterprise was made up of 12 separate teams with 200 members dispersed throughout the country. This man was running a whole summer AAU league. And in just 1 year, between 2013 and 2014, they broke into over 200 ancient tombs. That's on average 4 tombs a week. You work 5 days a week. This man broke into 4 tombs a week. Now you know how the story goes. He got caught. But here's where the story gets even crazier. Just the sheer scale of this thing eventually caught the attention of the authorities. And they keep seeing a well-dressed gentleman wearing glasses who looks nothing like a farmer wandering around in wide open rural land, and got him. He was given a suspended death sentence, and here's the craziest urban legend you'll ever hear. During interrogations, Mr. Jade here tried to bargain with the authorities. He said, let me live, spare my life, I can lead you into the burial chamber of the first Emperor Qin Shi Huang. I know how to open the greatest tomb in human history. Now look, everyone, throughout modern times, a number of so-called archaeological experts were actually former tomb raiders, like the Leo movie, Catch Me If You Can type of stuff. Okay? And since that sentence, Mr. Jade disappeared into the pages of history. We don't know what happened to him, if the sentence was actually carried out. Word on the street is Mr. Yao Yuzhong went to go see God.
What?
But a Mr. Li Yuzhong joined the National Archaeology team. I'm gonna let you chew on that one yourself. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Okay, so what's the difference between what he did and the British Museum?
What you're looking at, ladies and gentlemen, is the incredible and largest gold artifact ever discovered in Chinese history. The famous and still unexplained gold object displayed today in the Nanjing Museum. It was dug up by accident in 1982, and we're talking 9.1 kilos of 99% pure gold. You know that Bruno Mars song, 24 Karat Magic? Yeah, well, this right here is that 24 karat magic. So who did it belong to? We still don't know. How old is it? Still don't know. We think it's about 2,000 years old from the Western Han Dynasty. What animal is that? We still don't know. Some historians think it's a tiger, some think it's a leopard. To me, it looks like a dog. Let me know what you think it is in the comments. Look like a dog to me. Now, a couple of very interesting theories. Some folks think it was used for weighing things like a counterbalance. Now that's interesting, it could be. Some people think it's a placeholder to hold down a mat or a carpet. Now imagine who the owner is, how rich this person was to have a mat holder made out of 24 karat gold. Now that's rich back then. You see that handle on the back of this animal? I feel like something was hooked on it, you know? That's why I like the weight theory. Shoot, maybe it was a dumbbell and the owner was doing curls with it. Now, the construction crew, when they found it in 1982, they were digging a road and they were honest enough to turn it in. But they found other loose pieces of gold objects as well. And all these gold coins and sheets of solid gold, well, they added up to another few kilograms. So this was an incredible discovery. Now, here's the most interesting part in today's episode. Most of the greatest treasures on display in Chinese museums come from tombs. Most of them. This was not discovered in a tomb, which actually makes it harder to identify the owner and what it was used for, because there's no context. They just found it in the ground. So what do y'all think this thing is? Let me know in the comments.
Seriously, this guy needs his own show on the History Channel. Loving it. Follow him on TikTok, The Monkey King.
So I've had a few people that have asked me why I'm so interested in conspiracy theories. And I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this on here, so I'm going to say for entertainment purposes only. This is my personal experience, so I don't know why they take it down, but they might take it down. I don't know. I had an aunt. She's no longer here. She passed away. But before she passed away, she told me essentially everything. So she worked at Area 51 in one of the sublevels in the 80s. And what she told me is that, yes, the Greys are real, that they have interviewed Greys and they work with the Greys. And we had a treaty with the Greys. At the time that she passed away, it was still active. It's no longer active at this point, so I don't know what's happening with that. But we did have a treaty with the Greys, an agreement with them. And we were doing a lot of reverse engineering and stuff like that. She actually had blueprints of one of the reverse engineering crafts, and she had a whole bunch of documents, like paperwork, because back then everything was, documents. They weren't doing everything electronically. So she kept some of it, and she had it in her house. And my dad went in there and he was clearing out her house after she passed away. And that's when he found a whole bunch of the documents, and he found them really interesting, you know? And so he took them, and then for some reason, while he was driving home on the freeway, he veered off the freeway into a brick wall and was no longer alive. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word on TikTok, the D word that coincides with unaliving. But what was confusing about that is my dad was a race car driver, and he never got in a car accident. He was a really good driver, so that was really shocking. And he was 57 years old and didn't have any pre-existing conditions. So that was shocking. And then what really bugged me was when the police gave me his belongings, the documents were gone.
What?
So, just skimming over the top of everything, that is why I am interested in conspiracy theories and I don't trust the government. Okay, love you, bye.
By aliens, you mean demons?
Drake is evil in human form. I used to be such a big Drake fan. I was so excited. In January of this past year, I got to go to one of his concerts and I was in the pit, and this was a huge turning point for me. At one point during one of his songs, he came to the edge of the stage, was looking at me directly in the eyes and pointing and like reaching out for my hand. Everybody in our general area was like jumping up and down and like grabbing my shoulder and like, ah! I was stunned. I have never felt such evil, and I was like such a big fan of Drake, but for the few seconds that I had eye contact with him, it was like all sound of the concert was completely blocked out, and my ears were ringing like how people in like war movies, their ears ring after there's like a strike. I felt a huge pit in my stomach and I like could not breathe. Literally the next morning I took all of the Drake songs off of my playlist and just stopped entirely because it was that serious for me. I told a couple of my friends about this, and one of them sent me lyrics of his one song. It literally says, yeah, I got some evil ways, even through the glasses you can see the gaze. And thinking back, because I knew like every word to every one of his songs, so much of his stuff, like we don't take it seriously because it just seems like it's like edgy, like celebrity stuff. No, like I have a totally different understanding of him and his music. He is completely serious, but you have to be in the mindset of like paying attention. He does a lot of satanic stuff. I honestly might make a video about his tattoos. He has hundreds of tattoos. The majority of them are like ancient Egypt and like alchemy tattoos. This is for entertainment purposes only, and these are strictly my opinion.
I'm a jazz guy now and worship music.
So what do you call it the most powerful church in America?
I will give you an example and show you how powerful the movie theater is in this country. Now, what time does your church meet on the weekend?
Sunday morning.
Let's say I go to your church and preach the morning sermon. Halfway through the sermon, I curse the name of Jesus.
What?
Or as some would say, I use the Lord's name in vain. Will that not wake up your congregation? So then I preach a little more and I curse his name again. How would they react to that?
Wow.
Then I preach a little more and I curse his name again. Would the people not be upset? Then I bring up a young couple on the platform and they start to kiss.
What?
And take their clothes off. Right there, in church, on a Sunday morning. How long do you think your congregation will allow this to go on? Would they not say, this is most awful thing? To curse the name of Jesus in church? And to have them take off their clothes here in front of everyone? Would they not be appalled? Would they not yell out, stop it? You cannot do this in this place. But yet, I say, 12 hours earlier, on Saturday night, in a movie theater, when this exact same thing occurs, it is entertainment?
Wow.
My friend, something is wrong.
Yeah.
We must make up our mind. It is either entertainment Saturday night in the theater and entertainment Sunday morning in church, or it is most sinful Sunday morning in church and most sinful Saturday night in the theater. This is why I say the movie theater is the most powerful church in America. It's the only place where Christians go To hear the name of Jesus Christ used as a swear word, and to watch nakedness, and yet pay their money to be entertained.
Wow.
Never thought of it like that before.
I say this trembling, David. Most people who go to church in America know not Jesus. The Bible says, in the last days, men will become lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God. Is this not the case in America now? Ask yourself, would I go to the movie theater to hear my name cursed? Then why go to the theater to hear his name cursed? David, would you go to the theater to see your daughter naked on the screen? So why go see someone else's daughter naked on the screen? It's just great sinfulness in the eyes of God.
I don't know what to say. What can we do?
Must try and turn this all around. Use the movie theater for Jesus. We need dramatic programming on television for the Lord. Use radio to tell others the gospel. Satan does not want any of this to happen and will work to stop anyone who tries to change it. So beware.
I understand.
This is good.
The media has the power in this country, David. The airwaves, the movies, the music. It is how the enemy is working. Just look around you and observe what really moves the people and influences their lives. Is it not entertainment and the media? They control the people. They have the power of the air.
Wow, that put things in perspective real quick. Forgive me, God, forgive me. What? Bad internet connection?
Watch this. You can clearly see her black eye makeup when she blinks. Right here. Eyes are closed. Swinging her head, eyes are closed. I don't see any white eyelids. Do you? Eyes are closed. Black makeup. You guys can all slow this down. Boom. Eyes turn white. Isn't that interesting? Blinks right there. You can see black eye makeup when she blinks right there. These aren't her eyelids. They're her actual eyes. You guys need to use critical thinking, because you're watching witchcraft. You need to know who these people are. What's going on? Black eye makeup? Nope.
I'm convinced councils are ritual because the whole thing is, like flames, triangles, eyes.
Told the truth about what he did to his first wife.
To know the whole jar was dirty, go get Mary, go get her son, and go get her niece. And after that, he did that with Mary's son, trying to son. Next thing he knows, she started trying to move away. Mary divorced Steve. That's why.
And what he was doing with his new wife, see.
Oh, gosh. I can't feel sorry for her the way she let Winter grow up without his mother. I can't feel sorry for her because you let Steve Winton and you covered it up. I can't feel sorry for you because you helped Steve take Winton away from Mary.
And that daughter that he to Diddy and Diddy's son.
Oh, jeez.
Lori was once actually linked to Diddy's son, Justin.
Okay.
Okay, so they were together.
That's 49-year-old P. Diddy with his hand on his girlfriend's belly. Now, that is 22-year-old Lori Harvey. They're in Cabo. She's, of course, talk show host Steve Harvey's stepdaughter. People are talking about maybe she could be pregnant. You know, he's rubbing her belly a little bit. But
I think people will finally maybe be able to really get the gravity that this is not entertainment.
This is what I told this boy who came to take my daughter out. I said, listen to me, son. Whatever you do to her, I'm going to do to you. Now go on, have a nice time.
that's graphic.
It's sponsored of humanity. They are taking all of these evil things and dressing them up in pretty things and getting you to be okay with watching them destroy humanity.
I don't even know what to say anymore.
It looks like we've got our last alien encounter
Ooh,
of 2024
look at that.
because this guy just said that he has been exiled from beyond the ice wall and is now forced to live over here with the rest of us. And if you don't remember, back in March, the news already warned us that we would be seeing alien-type creatures in 2024, but that it's actually just from a disorder called prosopometamorphosia, also known as demon face syndrome, where you see different facial features on a regular person. But some of us caught on and we figured out that they're actually lying to us. And what's actually happening is the veil is being lifted and we can now see these creatures for who they actually are. This has been the year of revealing that the aliens are among us. If you remember way back on January 1st, there were supposedly 10-foot tall gray aliens that showed up in a mall in Miami and 1 million cops showed up. And maybe this all has to do with the fact that Antarctica is melting and people are showing up and other nations are and finding green, fresh new land that no one has ever seen before. One side of Antarctica is melting and growing vegetation while the other side is getting colder. If you ask me, I think that this sudden interest in all the nations coming to Antarctica within the last year, and now the scientists are saying that half of Antarctica is melting, is actually the ice wall opening up and an entrance appearing that leads us to these other secret continents. If this doesn't convince you that something big is coming, I don't know what will. And this is where these aliens are coming from. So if you don't remember, if you ever find one of these people or you suspect that somebody is actually an alien or a shapeshifter, remember to say Kininigan, because they cannot say it and they'll like grumble and they'll change their voice to try and say it. They can't say the word. So if you ever meet someone that you think is a little bit suspicious, have them say that word and you'll figure out who they actually are.
Sir, the man is, the first one is Rasputin.
You're about to see something incredible. Buckle up and wait for the surprise at the end. You're looking at footage I captured from inside one of the most protected and booby-trapped ancient tombs in all of China. Remember, there are no smiles in the underworld. The first booby trap is this massive wall you see here. On the left, a lady from the underworld opens the door for you. Come in, Tomb Raider. Come into the spider's web. This wall was intentionally designed without any support pillars. The minute a Tomb Raider tries to enter by pulling a brick, the whole thing collapses. And it's sayonara. So archaeologists built this entrance to the right side to get around this wall. I don't get paid enough for rocks to be falling on my head, they said. Now, once we're inside, the whole place has been robbed clean. That's despite this heavy, solid stone door that's rammed into the walls, yet there are no signs of damage, no cracks anywhere. So how did the Tomb Raiders get in? We go into the main burial chamber to find out. Now, as we walk in here, all along the walls are the tomb decorations the thieves left behind. And the facial expressions aren't exactly festive and jolly. This tomb is a depiction of the underworld. It's dark, solemn, and frankly a little frightening. Inside the main chamber rests the sarcophagus. Look up and you'll see that the Tomb Raiders were able to pinpoint the exact location of this inner burial chamber 1,000 years ago. They bypassed all the protection mechanisms we just saw earlier. So how do they know where to dig? Come with me. Now we are at surface level. Look closely at this floor. Notice the 7 ping pong balls placed exactly where the 7 bricks are missing. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the Big Dipper star constellation. You see, right beneath these bricks is the ceiling of the inner burial chamber where the sarcophagus rests. In ancient times, major imperial tombs all have ceilings depicting the stars, meaning the soul is with the heavens now. That Big Dipper on the floor tells the tomb raiders that beneath your feet is the jackpot. Dig here. You see that arrow on the floor at times? The constructors, the builders of this tomb, purposely left this behind to point out the direction of the tomb. So why did the workers who built this place do this? Well, in ancient times, when these men finished building an important tomb, you and I both know what happened to them when the owner didn't want anyone to find it. I can assure you these workers did not get to go back to their homes and collect Social Security. So these men left behind a clue for their sons and grandsons. Yes, we won't be coming home, but son, you go down there, loot this place clean, and live a better life than I did, so that my sacrifice was not in vain.
So it's a generational inside job.
They were around at the time when Meek Mills was being broken in. They act like they didn't used to hang out all the time, having each other over there at the compound, while young for mentorship and actually being. They were around.
So can you just explain that? So we know that J-Lo was involved in Santeria. Diddy's, saying birds. He allegedly said go on a yacht. Jay-Z.
I'm sure.
Jay-Z hang out with Spirit Cook and Marina Abramovic that does.
She's a
what? Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
And he sat there and gave frontal lobe to frontal lobe, which is third eye to third eye, which says, I welcome you into my spirit. I welcome whatever is inhabiting you. I welcome it into me.
It's a
Jay-Z has been relying on for a long time. It's so funny when I think about Jay-Z and Diddy. It always makes me think about Jean-Michel Basquiat and Andy Warhol.
Yes.
Wait, the oldest Torah we have is also Ethiopian?
Yeah. No, not true. The earliest copies of the first 5 books of the Bible, the Torah, or what's sometimes referred to as the Pentateuch, that are written in Ge'ez, that's the language of ancient Ethiopia, those fall comfortably into the late medieval era. We're talking 14th to 16th centuries AD. We actually know that Syrian missionaries brought versions of the Septuagint, which is the Greek translation of the Hebrew Old Testament, down into Ethiopia, into the kingdom of Aksum early on, and then those were translated into Ge'ez. But it is just patently false that this is the earliest Bible, the oldest Bible. We have fragments of Genesis from the Dead Sea Scrolls that predate the Ethiopian ones by over 1,000 years. So this is just, it's incorrect.
Oldest version of Old Testament, Ethiopia. Oldest version of New Testament, either Sinai or Ethiopia.
No to the Ethiopian Ge'ez, being the oldest New Testament, maybe to Codex Sinaiticus. So we have other Greek copies contemporary with Sinaiticus, like Codex Vaticanus and Codex Washingtonianus. If we're thinking of a Bible as a single-bound book, then sure, that's Sinaiticus. But P45, those are our earliest collections of the 4 Gospels and Acts, all in one volume. And it could predate Sinaiticus by as much as 200 years. So we also have manuscripts in whole or in part from many individual copies of the Gospels in the 2nd and 3rd centuries.
Everything that what Billy Carson, Tyrone said is false. I'm pretty sure he's on the mission to deceive many. Everything that what Billy Carson, Tyrone said is false. I'm pretty sure he's on the mission to deceive many. set Satan behind his tongue.